edition of St. Patrick's Day, or sorry, TeeBox Chatter, because it's St. Patrick's Day. And what better way to celebrate golf on St. Patrick's Day than talking about golf in Ireland? So with me today, now on the tee from Experience Ireland Golf, it's Tom Kennedy. Tom, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi Alex, yeah, good to join you, and obviously happy St. Patrick's Day. I have got my Redbreast, I think it's 12-year-old in a Scroll hip flask, so it'll hopefully get me through the next however long we're talking. Might be a bit longer with a few drinks, but that's okay. So I think Lá Honna Fáraigh is what they say in Irish, if my Irish is as good as it used to be. So I suppose we could just say Céad Míle Fáilte, which means welcome 1,000 times.
I love it. Thank you so much. And in honor of that, I'm going to just take a quick little pull here on apparently what I thought was beer, but it's a hard seltzer from Triple Bogey. So okay. Tom, cheers.
Shalanta.
There we go. Now we're all set for this. So first of all, how is the weather today over where you are? You're in Killarney?
In Killarney, yeah. It's been a nice day, bit frosty this morning. It was a clear night. So as our nearly 3-year-old says, it was snow on the ground, which there wasn't, but it was frost. So that's okay. It was nice day. Would have been perfect for golf if the courses were open, but we're not quite there yet. So it was nice. Got out within our 5 kilometers for a walk, and we were all dressed in some shade of green. So on the day that was in it. So yeah, it's been fine. A different. Last 2 Paddy's days have been very different to what we're used to. We don't exactly spend all day in the pub like the stereotype might allude to, but not having the parades and the usual stuff that goes on I suppose on the TV at least, and around, so I suppose social media, it's still the same thing. I mean, it's amazing the amount of buildings around the world, never mind Ireland, that are going green. I mean, behind me is the photo I pinched off Adair Manor's Twitter page. That's their latest greening for St. Patrick's Day. But it's amazing, like, to see the Sydney Opera House and the Empire State Building, and even I think there's some of the massive hotels in Dubai all greened up. So it's kind of I jokingly say there are 2 types of people: the Irish and people who wish they were Irish. But it seems to be that way on St. Patrick's Day. So it's cool. It's cool to see there's very, I suppose, few days that transcend cultures and religions and prejudices and all that. But St. Patrick's Day seems to do it. So he must have done something right.
I love it. And you know what? I'm a stubborn Hungarian, but today I too am Irish. And a little closer to home, actually, Niagara Falls. It's about 15 minutes from where we are right now, and they're lighting up the falls green today as well. Both the Horseshoe, or Canadian Falls, the prettier falls, and the American Falls, which is, well, it's nice, but not nice as ours.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast, I think, to go through, But yeah, I mean, it's just mad to see, you've got your green shakes in a certain fast food chain, and you've got your green ice cream in the local shop. So everyone kind of does their thing, and you have the tongue-in-cheek references on The Simpsons and stuff as well. So it does the rounds anyway, that's for sure. I mean, it's a pity that we're not awash with tourists like we usually would be on St. Patrick's Day, and a lot of the bands and the marching bands and stuff that come over and take part in a lot of the parades around the country. I mean, not just Dublin. I know that's a massive parade, and obviously you do big parades in New York and other big cities and Boston and stuff. But this would usually be the kind of kick-off point for the tourist season. Not quite the golf tourism season, but definitely the tourist season. So it's hate using the term new normal, but I wouldn't say it's normal. It's just something new and unwelcome.
That's very fair. And to that end too, like going back to the golf and how it's a nice day over there, be good for golf. Now, is that simply because of lockdown and COVID protocols still, or is that just because the season hasn't opened, the courses are simply not open for business yet?
I mean, it's totally to do with COVID. I mean, there'll be some courses that are seasonal and wouldn't be open yet anyway. But I mean, the majority of the members courses would be open pretty much 12 months of the year, apart from weather that might close certain courses, more the inland courses, more the parkland courses. But I mean, the links courses are pretty much open all year round, bar some that close for a little bit of maintenance over the winter, when there's not as much interest in golf anyway. But it's been a decent winter. Some people might disagree, but there's been plenty of days that have been good for golf, but unfortunately not good enough with COVID numbers and stuff. And I suppose we're trying to avoid a fourth wave here. So if we can get the numbers low enough, hopefully by Easter at least, that certain things will open, including golf and tennis and other sports that can be done in a socially distant fashion. Outdoors. I mean, like rugby and soccer are going ahead on an elite level. In Ireland, and we've been watching the Six Nations. Now we take on the English. We're taking them on at Cheltenham at the moment and doing quite well in the horse racing. But we take them on in the rugby then I think on Saturday or Sunday. I think Saturday. So it's usually a good week to beat them after we've beaten them in the horse racing in their own backyard. So that's always good. And if we can beat them in the rugby, all the better. So we're looking forward to that for the rest of the week.
Very, very good. And you know what? Go stick it to them. So those English lads what it's all about. So sticking with golf, of course, because it is a golf podcast. We'll just touch a little bit on the PGA Tour. And this past week was, of course, the Players Championship. Now, there's been a lot of speculation, debate, arguments on social media, and just the internet in general when it comes to golf and the players. Yes or no, is the Players Championship the fifth major, or should it be considered the fifth major?
There are 4 majors, so there's no fifth major.
You know what? And that's exactly the sentiment that I have too. You know what? We have 4 for a reason. The Players is its own identity, it's its own tournament. And you know what? It doesn't need to be, because we all know what it truly is.
Yeah. I mean, look, people, let's say like people, obviously Harrington, Lowry, I suppose McIlroy, McDowell, Flair, the fifth major for them would probably be the Irish Open. And, people like Graham Dillette and Richard Zokol, that's going a long way back for Canadian golfers. The Canadian Open, the Australian Open for people like Adam Scott. I mean, obviously, the US Open is a major already for the American players. So you can't just have another one. I think, if there was ever going to be another major, which I don't think we really needed, we should be looking down towards like Australia or Asia or somewhere else, rather than, I know the Players has a tradition, but it's only going for, I don't know, is it going since the 60s, 70s? I'm not 100% sure. But like there's nothing even touches the tradition and the history of the other tournaments. So I don't think we need another one, to be perfectly honest. But it's a phenomenal event, and it's run very well, and the golf course is cool, and it's probably the best kind of finishing stretch 16 home. Because literally so much can happen. I mean, you could have a 3 or 4 shot lead, standing on 16 tee, and coming off 17 green, you could be 1 behind, or you could be anything. You could be 8 ahead. It's just mad. So, it's a really good event. And obviously, Mr. Thomas had everyone speculating about his toy drivers, and I think it was a 3-1 on the last that. Look, we've all hit shots like that. I think he might have meant it on 16, get the most out of the run on the fairway, and he had a phenomenal second shot then into the green onto the left side, and made a good birdie. I mean, that was kind of the winning of it there. I know McGinley was giving him the big ups on Twitter, I think today or yesterday. But like it was a great win, and Westwood kind of a couple of bad swings early on. A couple of very bad swings on, was it 4 from him and Bryson, that made all us hackers feel a bit okay. I think you do it, and I suppose pressure is pressure. usually their skills rise the greater the pressure, but it was kind of heartening to see these two phenomenal ball strikers, you know, that had gone toe to toe at Bay Hill and it played so well, and then were, I suppose, playing fine the first few holes, but obviously 4 would really really mess with you. I mean, it was kind of such a birdie chance really with that pin as well on Sunday that you can
absolutely,
you can fire like 20 feet long right of it and have a kind of a tap in if you're ballsy enough to go that side. But it's like a hybrid and a wedge pretty much. But both of them ended up, what did it drop? 3 shots between the two of them on that hole. So that was probably the difference, that they'd be thinking birdie and they walked off, with a 2-shot swing for Westwood and a 3-shot swing for Bryson. So it's kind of what was the difference. I know they're so good that they can make up, they should be able to make it up in 14 holes. But it was a good watch. It's Sawgrass always provides a bit of drama, and it's major championship standard, but it's not a major championship for me, I have to say.
Yeah, see, like I say, I have the same sentiment as you, Tom, where there's other events that I look at that could be considered a major before the players. I know the players, like, you have a star-studded field. The field is fantastic with so many of the top 50 of, I think it was 30 some odd were from the top 50 in the golf rankings this past week. Maybe it was even a bigger number than that.
Could be more, yeah. It could be the best field. It could be the best field. I mean, I know, like, the Masters is, the top 50 get in, and then obviously there's certain tournaments that if you win, you get in as well, and there's certain invites for certain spots, and you get all, the defend or the previous champions get in as well. So that, that's more of an invitational type of field, but they have their set amount of players that get in. And I mean, the PGA Championship tends to be one of the better fields out of the 4. And then, you've a lot of, I suppose, PGA pros playing the PGA Championship, US PGA Championship. Or I think they're calling it the PGA Championship now because they might be thinking about moving it abroad at some stage. all of a sudden, the name has been altered. And again, look, the US Open is phenomenal, phenomenal tournament as well. But you get a lot of amateurs. I suppose, to get through qualifying there, which there's nothing wrong with. But I suppose for pure professional fields, I mean, the Players is probably the best one, or at least one of the best.
Yeah, like I actually look at 2 other tournaments, maybe a third one in there because of national pride and all. But I look at an event like the Genesis, where Riviera, that golf course is old school. It's set up like a major. And then of course you have the Memorial Jacks tournament at Muirfield Village. Yeah. And again, it's more of the same, where the setup really feels, you're watching on TV, and it has that major feel to it. And there is that with the Players, but say what you will about about the architect there. I mean, we heard his name all weekend, and all of a sudden I'm forgetting who the architect is of that wonderful golf course.
Of Sawgrass.
At Sawgrass, yes.
Pete. Well, Pete. I think it was Pete Dye designed. Pete Dye designed 17 holes, and Mrs. Dye designed the 17th.
Oh, I didn't know that actually. That's
it was his wife that came up with the idea for the Island Green. Unless I'm mistaken, golf nerds, feel free to jump on me if you want. But I'm pretty sure I'm right. I put it up on Twitter, I think on Thursday or Friday, I can't remember which. Just Garcia and Westwood are probably the best ball strikers of the last 25 years. And some people didn't like the fact that I put that up. Obviously, a lot of non Sergio fans on golf Twitter. But I stand by my golf slur. Obviously, forgetting about that guy. That guy with the 15 majors. But we're all entitled to our opinions. I wouldn't want to. I'd play with Westwood and Garcia in the foursomes before I play with Tiger, I have to say.
Nice. You bring up a good point about Mr. Dye's wife being the potential designer of the 17th hole, which you're pretty sure you're right. And you know what? I'm going to say that you're right without even knowing that you're right, because you know what? You just look so smart where you have to be right.
Exactly.
But speaking of cutting course design, and I just talked about Riviera a little bit. Bunkers in the middle of greens. We see a couple of them, and one is Riviera, and one of it is over at TPC San Antonio. I believe that's the 16th hole or something to that effect. It's later on in the round. Now, you told me an interesting story off camera about was one over in Ireland, getting over to the Irish golf now, that also had a bunker in the middle of the green. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean there might be others now. So if your golf course has a bunker in the middle of your green, let us know when you see the podcast. But the 12th green at Doonbeg, the initial design by Greg Norman, was there was a bunker in the middle of the 12th green, and it was actually turned the other way around. So you wouldn't see it as a normal bunker. You'd see the lip, but you wouldn't realize it. You thought it might be part of the green. So obviously, but if you hit literally the middle of that green, you'll be in a bunker. Which is a quirky enough design. I mean, at the second hole there, it was pretty much in the shape of a boomerang, with the bunker in the middle part of the boomerang on the second hole. So there was a shelf up on the right side, and if you missed that shelf, then obviously if the pin was down left, it'd be perfect because you could shoot it off over the bunker, and it'll feed down left. So you didn't need to be flirting with being short. You could play it a little bit longer. So obviously being Australian, he wanted to put in a boomerang shaped green, but it was probably a bit difficult to begin with, the whole design. They softened it a little bit kind of after the opening, after maybe the first year, and then when a certain ex-president of the US bought the golf course, who wasn't the president at the time, I suppose he must have hit it in that bunker, and asked Dr. Martin Hawtrey of many of who did a bit of rework in Lahinch, which is only down the road from Doonbeg, and has also worked on a lot of the Open Championship venues. He obviously maybe he asked him to get rid of it. I'm not saying he did, but the decision was made to get rid of the bunker, and they made a few other, I suppose, subtle changes to the golf course. I mean, it's a beautiful spot, but that bunker that I didn't particularly dislike, it's there. So if there's a bunker in the middle of the fairway and you hit it into the bunker in the middle of the fairway, I suppose you're going to look for it. Or if there's a tree in the middle of the fairway, like you get kind of for your third shot at the 10th hole in Mount Juliet, that you can go left or right. There's two kind of a split fairway that Jack Nicklaus design, one of his signature designs. Only two of his courses in Ireland. So it's all, I suppose, designers put certain things in maybe to get a reaction or to get people talking about it, but it's a little bit different. In terms of a whole green design. So here's to more bunkers and greens.
You know what? And honestly, I like that design feature, to be honest. I think it gives a green character. Again, especially when you're looking at an older golf course like Riviera, it's just that that charm, that character, just that romantic nuance of something different. I mean, I personally love it, and you're absolutely right on the point where, well, you're not going to play your shot to go to that bunker. You're going to play that shot, to avoid it, as long as they don't have it up above and only a couple paces on from the bunker, because that would be just vicious on part of the course superintendent. But it's one of those things where you play it a little bit short of the pin, and it's not even, the bunker's not even a worry at that point, in my opinion, anyways.
No. I mean, look, there's some contentious designs that are there. I mean, like, even again, I was talking about Lahinch, and I mean, with Hawtrey, and I mean, you've got the 4th hole there, the Klondike, the par 5, that you're hitting over a massive dune for your second shot, and they have a stone at the top of the dune, that'll signify where the flag is, so you can, I suppose, either aim right over it or go left or right, depending on whether you hit a little cut or a draw. Which is probably never play a hole like that in your life ever. I don't know of many other holes like that. But then you step onto the next tee, the Dell, the par 3, and the whole green bar, a tiny little sliver on the right, is completely covered by this dune. it's about 165, maybe 170 yards, and they literally put the white stone on the top of the dune, and that's where you're shooting for the flag. And you know, I think I was watching the No Line Up podcast from Lahinch, or sorry, the Tourist Sauce episode of Lahinch this morning, because I was getting some footage on pouring a perfect pint of Guinness, so they did that on that episode. But they obviously played Lahinch in the same episode, and Ken Carney, who's an Irish golf designer and was a top amateur for a number of years, said that if him or any other architect put in a hole like the Klondike or the Dell at Lahinch now, they probably wouldn't get another design job, because it's such a quirky, mad kind of, like, you know, you think you might put the green in front of the dune rather than behind the dune, but you know, in terms of like an amphitheater kind of effect, that you'd have the green in front, and you'd be you know, shooting at it with the dune as the background, but to put it over the dune, like, would be, you're like, what's this guy been drinking or smoking or whatever. So, you know, it's good, and there's some, you know, there's some mad crazy like fun holes. I suppose links golf lends it to that a bit more than the parklands. Parkland, I suppose, there's a little bit more of a man-made element to it, but like links is, you try to keep it as natural as you can. And I know there's a bit of, you know, there's a bit of work that needs to be done in terms of like green sites and tee boxes and stuff, but you know, a lot of the best architects, you know, even like with places like Cairn with it, I think Eddie Hackett's last design, I mean, he virtually didn't, I think Tom Coyne says, like, they pretty much built the place with shovels. There was no big bulldozers or whatever. You know, they did it with their hands nearly, and it was what was there, and they figured out a routing around it, you know.
Right. So now, of course, we all know that the Emerald Isle is chock full of golf courses. You don't have to be a golfer to know that, but of course, it helps to be a golfer to know that information. So, Experience Ireland Golf. Let's talk about Experience Ireland Golf and everything that comes with it, or everything that you offer, the packages, the golf courses that you offer, and yeah. So let's hear all about Experience Ireland Golf.
Yeah, I suppose, I mean, we're mainly a bespoke tour operator. We do golf, and we do family trips, sightseeing, whatever you want to do, really. Kind of one-stop shop. I mean, we let people book their own flights. We'd help out with I suppose with private jets if groups need that. And then once you get in country, it's, you know, tea times, hotels, transfers, you know, regular luxury vehicles with some of the best bus drivers and guides to be found in the country. You know, we'll put together, I suppose, you know, dinners, get your caddies arranged, pretty much everything bar, I suppose, sleep in your bed, eat your food, and play your golf. You know, we'll do everything else. So it's kind of a one-stop shop, really. And you know, I suppose we pride ourselves with our customer service and our knowledge of the country. And you know, we've had some great clients down the years, and we've worked with people, you know, like the No Line Up guys as well on their tour. So you know, we're, you know, just happy to welcome people to Ireland, and hopefully we'll be doing so again in the near future. So we're working on a lot of groups that unfortunately couldn't come last year, and maybe mightn't be able to come this year. Hopefully they'll be able to come towards the latter part of 2021, and you know, we're moving a lot, I suppose, a decent amount of tours to next year as well. Just people not being able to, that were due to travel maybe May June time, that are kind of biting the bullet and saying they'll change 2022. So I mean, I think once things get started up again, there'll be such a pent up demand for any kind of travel, but especially the golf side, that, I mean, I think the courses will all be absolutely packed. So it will be busy. You know, it'll be tough to make up for what's happened, but I think the following years, especially like 22 to 25, will be kind of crazy. So it'll be like getting ready for your firstborn child, prepare not to get much sleep for a while. We'll be so busy, but you know, it'll be a good complaint to have, because you know, it's been very tough on the hospitality industry. I know we probably hear more about it from the pubs and the restaurant side, but again, I mean, there's a lot of hotels and golf courses, and obviously the operators that send the business to all of those, hurting as well, and bus operators too, who have provided a great service to all the tourist industry, to get the people around the country as well. So it's been difficult, and hopefully we'll have the chance to showcase the country again. I mean, I know we're all ready to do it, but there's a certain virus that's preventing that at the moment.
Absolutely, and I just feel so bad for all those people over there, whether it's there, whether it's here in Canada or abroad anywhere else. When you're talking about areas that has a very high influx of tourism, and your economy depends on a lot of that tourism or tourism dollar. um, I just feel so bad because I mean that's everyone's bills, everyone's livelihood, and hopefully everyone can get back on track. And I just hope that everyone over there is absolutely inundated with tours, and with free fees, whiskey tours, all that kind of stuff. When this is all said and done, when you guys finally get the go ahead to, hey, come on back. I mean, Ireland, that's one of the places that I dream of going, and it is on my bucket list, which is, it's going to happen one day. I feel confident that it will happen. But yeah, I just hope that everyone can get over to the Emerald Isle, and you guys can start really kickstarting that economy back up again. Especially from the tourism standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I mean, like where we're based in Killarney, there's more hotel or accommodation beds or bedrooms than the whole north of Ireland. So that shows just how reliant this part of the world is on the tourism side. I mean, we have the, I suppose we've had the influx, I suppose, of domestic tourists now, really. I mean, with the staycations, I know some people hate that word, but it's probably here to stay. It'll end up in the Collins Dictionary at some stage, if COVID keeps going. But that's the one thing the golf courses have been providing deals for the Irish golfers to experience, I suppose, courses that would otherwise either be packed with tourist golfers or would be a little bit out of their price range, which is a good thing. And again, people are seeing parts of the country that they've never experienced before, whether it's Donegal or down here around Kerry, or the southeast down to Waterford, or up towards the northeast coast, Titanic and Causeway Coast kind of region, or even around Dublin. I mean, you even hear about buddies mine in Dublin holidaying in Dublin. So but why not? I mean, it's very easy to jump on a plane to Spain or Portugal or France or whatever, and enjoy somewhere that's a little bit warmer. I suppose if it's Spain and Portugal, a little bit more guaranteed better weather in terms of compared to France and probably ourselves. But it's a little bit easy to do that, and book those package holidays rather staying in a really cool, I suppose, a really cool guest house, or renting a cottage for a week or whatever. Some great places to find, and then you have some phenomenal pubs and some great, like, I mean, I think we've got the best food in the world here, never mind the drink. There's some amazing restaurants. I mean, a lot of them are recognized by Michelin, but there's equally good kind of gastro pubs and all that stuff. So and you can't beat a pint of Guinness and a bowl of chowder and a toasty down on Looney's in Lahinch or somewhere like that, right by the coast, and one of the best kept beer gardens in the world. It's literally sitting on the Atlantic Ocean. So, for example, or down to Kinsale, it's kind of the gourmet capital of the country, and you've got the old head down about 20 minutes away in terms of golf, and some nice courses around Cork as well. So I mean, there's so much to do, whether you're looking to play golf with your buddies and because you're not going abroad, or you're looking to go out with the family. Some great places in Ireland. So I suppose the domestic tourism, when we can finally get moving ourselves, will be something to look forward to, and then hopefully look forward to opening the doors to a wider audience then in the near future too.
And I think it's really smart on part of the operators, the golf courses themselves, to offer the residents or the your fellow countrymen and women discounts to these rounds, or discounts to these golf courses, because my sense, working in the industry is it's always better to have some people on the golf course versus no people on the golf course.
Yeah, I suppose, I mean, it's totally, I suppose it's totally up to the courses themselves, like they obviously have costs they need to meet in terms of the season and maintaining the golf course and stuff. So and look at it, it opens the doors to and gives opportunities for Irish golfers that would otherwise not play certain courses in a year that would play them. I mean, you still have places like, in the west of Ireland, like, Carnan and Enniscrone, and you've County Sligo and Strandhill, which is 4 beautiful links courses within like probably max 2 hours of each other. And you've got a lovely 9-hole course up there as well in Mayo and Mulranny. So there's a phenomenal area. And their prices were never particularly high for Irish golfers ever, but I suppose over the last couple of years with various people visiting, especially with Karen in that area with the Nolly and Up guys and with Tom Coyne, they've done a lot to. They've nearly opened the eyes of Irish golfers, and I know Kevin Markham, who's an Irish golf writer, who loves Karen as well. So I mean, between all those, and there's John Garrity, I think, who's maybe Sports Illustrated, could be wrong, but he's a golf writer in the States. So they've had a lot to do with, I suppose, the tourist side, and the Irish have kind of gotten on recently anyway. That's probably a place to go as well. I mean, it's a decent drive from most places in Ireland, but once you're there, it's worth it. And I mean, there's it's beautiful scenery, and just some lovely hotels and guest houses and stuff as well. So it's just nice to see. Kind of, I'd always said myself that why would I go on a golfing holiday abroad when I haven't played all the super golf courses in Ireland? I mean, there's still a few on my list that I want to play, including getting up to Donegal to play Rosapenna. I think I've only played the Sandy Hills links. I need to play the old Tom Morris links, and then they have the St. Patrick's links, which is coming, which is a good day to be talking about it. St. Patrick's links up in Rosapenna, which is Tom Doak's first design in Ireland. He's had a few projects, I think, that haven't quite happened over the years, but he's been working with the Casey family up there. So hello to John and Frank and Tony Gall of the Casey clan, and it looks phenomenal. It was an old 36-hole layout, but it's been designed now as an 18-hole links course. So if you check it out on Instagram, especially, it looks absolutely amazing. So that's gonna be, I think, they talk about vaccines being a game changer, but I think that's going to be a game changer in terms of people heading up northwest, where there's phenomenal value. And if you are planning a trip to Ireland and you can't get on the prestige tournament venues, Open Championship venues, all the Ryder Cup courses, all these places, definitely come and experience some of the courses that are as good, if not better, than some of the beaten track courses, right, rather than the off the beaten track. Because I think there's going to be such a demand for tee times, especially at the better known venues, that if you still want to come to Ireland, don't decide not to come because your top 10 list isn't available, because there's some absolutely amazing tracks all over the country, north, east, west, and south.
See, I have a hard time even picturing what a bad or ugly golf course would look like over there, because in my opinion, I don't know, I just think everything would be a 5-star golf course, because I mean, it's Irish golf. I mean, it's Ireland, so I can't even picture any golf course not being enjoyable over there. Of course you have your popular courses from the Ryder Cups and from various opens and whatnot. So not to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot. Okay, let's talk about the top 3 for the courses that you offer, the tours, so on and so forth. What are your top 3 requests to play?
I would say probably, it's a good one now. I'd say Lahinch would be up there, probably Ballybunion, and I tied for third Cairn is getting huge requests now, and probably Royal Portrush. They would be the kind of the top three in a bit anyway. But I mean, we like once people are playing Lynch, they're going to request Ballybunion, Tralee, Waterville. They might play it there. They might go down towards All Head. Dukes will come up depending on how long they're staying. Possibly Hogs Head as well, which is Trent Jones Junior redevelopment there of the old Skellig Bay Golf Club. So but they'll start with we have to play Lahinch, we have to play Ballybunion, or we have to play Cairn, or we have to play Royal Portrush, and then they'll kind of branch out the trip from there really. So they'd probably be the most popular, but again, it has a lot to do with region. If people are flying into Dublin, I mean Portmarnock, the Island, Royal Dublin, they're the European Club, County Louth, they're kind of musts. And again, if you're playing Portrush, you got to go visit Paul Vaughan and Ardglass and head up to Royal County Down and see Bert Mackay and Castle Rock and go visit Judy and I think it's Jeannie in Port Stewart. And then Ballyliffin isn't far away either, and then you can go to Rossapena to see the Caseys. So it's all it's tough not to look, if you had a month, go play most of them, but I suppose we'd send tours to pretty much all the courses around the country, but I suppose they'd be the kind of top ones requested anyway.
See, I would have to go to Old Head just to see the lighthouse. 1, I love lighthouses. 2, I love the ocean. 3, I love golf. So I mean, what better place for me to go? But no, all joking aside, that lighthouse, there's just something about it. I want to go see that in person. I think I want to smell the air. It's just a lot of things that really do it for me over there. So if that was a bit of a hard question to put you on the spot with, I got even a more difficult one for you now. So what would be 3 hidden gems that golfers may not think about that that you would fill them in on and they would enjoy?
I mean, I suppose hidden gems is probably it's a term that's getting a bit overused because with social media, you can't hide in social media. So it's kind of a it's a bit of a god, hidden gems. Right, here we go. I think I'm not dodging the question. But I suppose some courses there'd be probably some of the 9-hole courses that'd be out there. So if you're you've got, I think it's Crutch Island as Tom Coyne calls it, but it's spelled Cruit Island, but there's all sorts of pronunciations. So that's an unbelievable golf course up in Donegal, up in the northwest. So again, if you're up there, if you play one of the local courses like Donegal Golf Club or Port Salin or Nairn and Port New, which Jill Hance did work on a few years ago, if you're up there and you don't fancy another 18 holes in the afternoon, but you'd play 9 and you'd go around an hour and a half and just enjoy the scenery as much as the play. That would be recommended. And then a little further down, not far from kind of between Lahinch and Doombeg, you've got Doolin Pitch and Putt, which is near the Cliffs of Moher, and then you've got Lahinch, and then further down between Lahinch and Doombeg is a place called Spanish Point Golf Club, which is another 9-hole links course. So again, it'd be the kind of thing that you might just fancy a few holes in the evening, or some of the group might fancy a few holes, and others just want to go to the pub or just want to cry in their bedroom after losing 20 balls. Not that it doesn't happen a lot, but if you hit it out onto the beach in Lahinch or Doombeg, you're probably not gonna find it. Or if you're staying in one of the beautiful properties near Spanish Point, like Spanish Point House. Hello, Aoife and Pat. It's only around the corner. It's a lovely links course. You could, if you had a little pencil bag, you could just throw half the set in and go out and just play a little skins game and couple of cans in the hand, and away you go. And then if you're a little further down the southwest coast, you'd have a place called Castle Gregory. So hello to another Pat there on Patrick's Day. So that's just a beautiful spot. So it wouldn't be a million miles away from Tralee and Killarney or even Ballybunion. So if you're on your way to stay in Killarney, you'd played, let's say, Tralee, you could stop off there, you'd be around again an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I mean, these are the kind of places that they're absolutely delighted to see you, and the green fees are like 25-30 euro.
My goodness.
Is,
So really, there's golf available on the island for all kinds of budgets. It just depends on the person and how much they want to spend.
yeah. I mean, it's I suppose it's as accessible a place as Ireland in terms of golf. I mean, there's probably not a golf course that you can't get on. If you can literally pick up a phone and call someone, you can book a tee time. I mean, obviously there's certain dates that aren't available. Lynch hosts the south of Ireland every year. County Sligo hosts the west. County Louth hosts the east, and in Portrush is hosted the north of Ireland. They're all amateur championships, and then the Irish Close and the Irish Amateur are moved around a bit. You'll have certain times of the year that just won't be available. But again, if you're flexible and a certain course you want to play, the one thing is to book early, especially for I know Portrush and County Down especially open a bit earlier than the other courses for the following year. So by May, they'll have probably opened their books for next year, and they'd have probably rescheduled a lot of last year's and this year's bookings to 2022 already. So if you are planning putting a new tour together and you're looking to play those courses as part of the trip, I get those booked obviously through a tour operator, and preferably me in Experience Ireland. But if you want those part of your trip, get them booked early, and you can work in the others around it. But again, obviously, if you can get them all booked, in April, May time for the following year, great. Some people think they can book 6 months in advance, or they can book now for June or July or August, whatever. But depending on exactly what courses you want to play, availability is always tight. And these clubs, a lot of these clubs are member clubs as well, and they have a big membership, and obviously the members want to play the golf course too. So you're going to be competing with members for tee times as much as you are with the tourist golfers. So you should definitely keep that in mind, because but the thing is, if you don't get on those courses, there's a hell of a lot of other fantastic places to visit.
And that's the point that I was trying to make earlier a few minutes ago, was I just can't imagine being upset with anything that I would play in Ireland. I just can't have a hard time even trying to rationalize that thought of like, oh, well, I'm only on so-and-so, meanwhile you're over in say Limerick or wherever, and instead of being in Toronto, Ontario, or New York City. I mean, they have their nice areas too, but let's face it, it's not a golf course in Ireland.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, it's as much, I suppose, you're over in Ireland, whether you have a link there, whether there's family from way back or friends or whatever, but it's I suppose it's as much the people you're with and the experience you have as much as the golf course. I mean, some people it'll only be a good trip if I shoot under par in Ballybunion Old, or if I, birdie the last in Old Head, or if I, split the fairway on the 9th at County Down, or, all these kind of things. You're like going, it's, look, for some people great, but I mean, it's as much, look, myself and the Owlful, I went over and we had an unbelievable week, and, we've never spent so much time together in the last 20, 30 years. And, it was great that we could do it. And, they mightn't even remember the golf courses they played, and they could have been useless or they could have been unbelievable. But it's like when, I think it was the story when Kevin Shorey won the US Open, and I think he played with Ray Floyd, and like he handed him the card at the end of the round, and there was no scores on it. He kind of like blacked out, or something ridiculous like that, that in the best possible way. But we talked to some golfers, especially like when I worked in Adair in the Old Head, and the first kind of 11, I think it was 11 years that I worked in golf. I worked 6 years in Adair, and I worked 5 in Old Head. And I mean, you talk to golfers after the round, and he goes, "Oh yeah, how'd you get on 13 or 12, whatever?" And they go, "No, I don't know." We had such a good time though. It was great, but I don't remember. And like they're literally after walking off the 18th green, and like it was an hour ago that they would have played the whole, or an hour and a half, and you're kind of going, oh, you know, as long as you had a good time. You don't remember the scores, but look, it's cool. You know, because some of the actually we're talking about the lighthouse. There was a when I was caddy master in Old Head, there was a kid who literally lived in the lighthouse. His family lived in the lighthouse to maintain it. They're employed to maintain the lighthouse. So he'd caddy, and of course his big selling point at the end of the round is, you know, you want to tour the lighthouse. So I'd jump in the cart and bring him over, and I'd get my kickback, and he'd get his big kickback for the tour. So it was a nice it was a vicious circle we'd go on, but you know, it was, you know, there you go. I suppose it's the very entrepreneurial spirit that the Irish have.
I was going to say very enterprising.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, I mean, I suppose places like the Old Head it's probably a testament to the entrepreneurial spirit that we do have, because I mean that was, I think, 220 acres is what's there. It was really probably not very suitable farmland. It was owned by a farmer. I think it cost 300,000 Irish pounds in the late 80s when it was bought by the O'Connor brothers, two brothers from near Waterville, in a place called Ballinskelligs. John passed away, I think, about 5-6 years ago, maybe a bit longer. But I mean, unbelievable foresight to put it together. And I mean, you know, they've got an amazing piece of land and an even better golf course. And I mean, they're always making improvements to the place, and there's a great team there with Jim and Lara and Danny and Paddy and Mike, and there's people that have been there a long time, which shows, including obviously loads of members that mainly come from abroad. Great place. And I mean, well, it's only just one example of the places, but like that's one of the newer courses. I think it was 95, 96, around the same time as the Dare came along, and there was a bit of a golfing boom, but it was more the I mean, there wasn't much links land available, and the Old Head was really more of a cliffside course rather than a links course, because the definition of a links is technically linking the water to the land. But there's no beach. There's no beach at the Old Head. Down the road there is, but none at the Old Head. So people were always confused. Was it a parkland or a link? So when you're doing a top 100 golf courses in Ireland and you want to split it into links and parkland, they're never quite Old Head. But yeah, I mean, it was around the time when the golfing boom started, but it was more parkland courses with housing, real estate available, and I mean, a lot of those by kind of 2007, 2008, when there was certain crashes in stock markets and stuff that kind of proverbial feces hit the fan. So so you know, you know, a lot of those courses had a bit of a tough time, but I mean, you know, places like the Old Head they were always good for tourists and had a good membership of overseas. They've always done well. And I mean, obviously the other courses around the links courses around the country that have been going for a long time, and you know, have a very big membership and big and loyal membership that has kept them going, I suppose, regardless of the tourists, really. I mean, I suppose Tom Watson kind of put Ballybunion on the map, and I think it was the early 80s, where he said, I think he mentioned him in one of his winning speeches at the Open Championship, and all of a sudden, people started coming over to this, you know, which was ridiculously remote part of Ireland at the time, that had a phenomenal golf course on the Old, and then they ended up getting a second course on the Cashin, designed by Trent Jones Senior, who did the original design for Adair as well, before Tom Fazio did the rework for JP McManus there a couple of years ago. But you know, it's amazing just how, you know, certain courses, certain places become immortalized by a couple of words in an acceptance speech at the Open Championship. I mean, I suppose he probably didn't think what his words, the effect Tom Watson's words would have, and I mean, the affinity that he created with Ballybunion. Then, I mean, he was Millennium Captain in 2000. I think it was, I don't know if it was honorary or not, but his captain's prize, his old, I don't know if was it his Watson wedge that it was up, the one he chipped in at Pebble Beach. when he won the US Open there. That was the prize. It might have been that or a 2-iron. I can't remember. But that's pretty cool. Of all the captain's prizes you could win, that's probably one of the cooler ones. And we'd dear old Payne Stewart was Millennium Captain the same year down in Waterville, but of course he'd passed away in '99, not long after the Ryder Cup in Brookline in the helicopter crash. So to think you'd have two courses on the southwest coast of Ireland with people like Payne Stewart and Tom Watson as Millennium Captains was was kind of cool, and I suppose only in Ireland.
So with you being based in Killarney, say I wanted to have my golf trip based out of Killarney, which airport would I use? Because I mean, obviously there's Dublin for a major international hub. So what airline which international airport would I use?
I mean, like Shannon's probably the easiest one. You could fly you're direct from New York and Boston anyway, on good old Aer Lingus. I'll give a little plug there for our friends, our friends on St. Patrick's Day, Irish business and all that. Now you can fly. I mean, Dublin is, let's say, if you're ending up in Killarney, Dublin's 3 or so hours away. A lot of it's motorway till you get to Adair, and then about an hour from Adair, give or take a few minutes to Killarney, depending on how good or bad your driver is. Now there are direct flights from Dublin to Kerry Airport, which is about 15 minutes maybe from Killarney Town Centre. So if you did fly into Dublin and you wanted to chill out for a couple of hours, usually the flights into Dublin from the US or Canada would arrive in early in the morning. So I mean, you could even play a few holes, get showered and changed at the golf club or the resort, wherever you'd be playing, and get I think it's about a 6 p.m. flight maybe down from Dublin to Kerry, and you'd be, that's less than an hour's flight, and then you're 15 minutes to Killarney, or you can just come straight down. There's good options, but Shannon would be a good option if you're, let's say, looking to start your trip on the southwest, either around like Lahinch and Doonbeg would be the closest courses. You can go further north to like Galway Bay, and you've County Sligo, Strand Hill, Ennisrowan and Cairn, or if you're coming like obviously further south, then you've got Lahinch. Lahinch is about 30 minutes or so from Shannon, and then down into Kerry, then you'll have Killarney, Dukes, Waterville, Hogshead, Ballybunion, Tralee. Castle Gregory, obviously the 9-hole, and there's another nice 9-hole in Ballyhigh Castle. So lots of golf to be played, and then I mean, Old Head isn't too far. So if you're in that part of the world, grand. I mean, you can do. Dublin is a good hub for, around, like playing Portmarnock, obviously the K Club, the European, Royal Dublin, the Island, County Louth. You could. It's less than 2 hours from kind of like Portrush, Royal County Down, Ardglass, that direction, Port Stewart, Castle Rock. So you could do Dublin if you're doing the north, or if you can fly to Belfast. Obviously, if you're going to do the north, then that's easier. So we'd always help for those the logistic side of it. If you're coming from West Coast, kind of US or Canada, then it would be easier to. Some of them, it might be direct flight to Dublin. But if you can go via, if you're coming down southwest, it's always easier to make it to Shannon if you can. But again, I mean, it's a small enough country that we can, no matter where you land, we'll pick you up and bring you to where you should be.
Excellent. And finally, just to close things out a little bit, say I want to book a trip for myself and a couple of guys, or myself and my wife. How would I find you to book through Experience Ireland Golf?
Yeah, so I mean, the website is a bit of a long URL, but it's experienceIrelandGolfandTravel.com. We're at EIG Travel on Twitter and Instagram, and we're Experience Ireland Golf and Travel then on Facebook. So you'll find us. You find us there, or if you can't find us, you'll find me at Tom K Golf on Twitter and Instagram as well. So just in case you can't find me at all, find us at all those things, you can find me at the others.
Excellent. Well, Tom, I just want to thank you for all your time today, for talking about everything from the players to, of course, golf in Ireland. I apologize for putting you on the spot with a couple of those questions, but
That's fine. That's what I'm here for.
But as much as I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, as the cool kids say. So thank you so much for joining me. Stay safe. Hopefully things get going for you, and we'll see you on the next tee.
Thanks, Alex. Good night on Boherlat, as we say in Ireland. Made road. We'll see you hopefully.